Welcome back. Welcome back.
Welcome.
We're coming straight from a meeting that very much has like our gears going and our brains turning. So if we're taking a second to transition that brain over, that's why.
Doesn't it feel so fun though, like now that we're starting to have meetings like this with outside people that are not you and I?
I can't even handle it. No, I can't even. The prospect of this idea that we just discussed and are moving forward with is so fucking exciting and personal to like both of us. I can't handle it.
Yeah, it's going
I
to be
literally
exciting.
texted you 20 minutes ago. Isn't it fun when we're the boss?
Yeah, but then it's fun when it's like we can talk to other people. Not that I don't love you. Like it just makes it seem so much more real just because like I feel like if you follow anyone on the internet or anyone with the podcast, I'm sure they say the same thing where like it doesn't, you and I are just talking to each other. It feels like a phone call. And like, obviously we get your guys' like DMs and messages and like whenever you write in for questions with, by the way, today's a Q&A. So like, stay tuned. Like I'm like, oh shit, there's people listening, but
it's the best part. Yeah.
I frequently forget that there's someone listening.
Uh-huh.
So it feels very isolating.
Until we have moments like this, baby.
Yeah.
Building shit together.
Just trucking on.
Okay, let's do a quick unpacking and then get into our Q&A.
New moon in Scorpio.
Oh, man. I know. My uterus is feeling it.
I was about to say, which means Meadow's about to start her period. Because you know, I bleed with the full, she bleeds with the new.
And Mahal has it right now too. I synced with my dog because I haven't had the opportunity to get her fixed yet.
Yeah. How you feeling about the new moon?
Oh my God, so good. I mean, I fully dove into it all last night. And I don't want to share like exactly my process and everything I did, but part of it did include like a meditation and journaling. Obviously, that's kind of like the bare minimum. And I feel so good. Even Michaela, I was talking to Michaela because we always, every kind of ritualistic new moon, full moon, we'll text each other, what are you doing? You know? And even Michaela was like, you just feel more whole recently. And I was like, that's exactly how I feel. And then I was driving to the dog park with Aaron today because he's sick. And he always listens to Sunday service, which is the choir separate from Kanye. I'm not even going to touch that. And they had a song called Souls Anchored. And I was like, that verbiage is like exactly how I feel. I feel so spiritually grounded and like whole and complete and like up leveled in a new way recently that feels like, which is ironic because that's what the whole new moon energy was about, was like the ending of a 6-month cycle from like March, April, May, and like stepping into a new 6-month cycle. And it really feels like that was all a big time, like a big career shift happened for me, and I'm stepping into it now. It just all is aligning very beautifully. And I'm like seeing it like, oh, okay, it makes sense.
No, but can I tell you?
I'm feeling really good about it.
Can I tell you that like what you just said makes so much sense to me about you feeling so anchored, because obviously I don't get to see you that often, but we've been seeing each other pretty often lately in person. But
the summer I was there a lot.
You were here a lot.
Yeah.
Your presence is much more grounded.
Right?
Like
Isn't
much
it?
more grounded. Like you
chiller.
Yeah, but I don't even mean it in a way of like you were unchill. I just mean it in a way of like you, yes, have a more relaxed energy around you. Okay, relaxed in when we're talking about Meadow and relaxed when we're talking about me mean very different things. Relaxed for me means like chilled the fuck out. Relaxed for Meadow means like not hyper.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you're like you're hyper. I'm never. So yeah, like for me, relaxed means stick has been removed from my asshole. Yours means you're not hyper.
I'm like the little fairy floating around the room. Yeah.
Yes, you're much more like that, but like in a very grounded way.
Uh-huh.
And it's really calming.
No part of me feels, I think by removing people pleasing, my personality is less performative.
Oh, I hear that.
And not in a way that like, oh, I'm always here putting on a show, but like Aaron and I talk about that. Like we're friends that always like have been through something with someone or have a shtick with someone or the good storyteller of this past time. Like, and I just don't, I'm so pleased in my own little vibe and situation. I'm not there to like host or entertain. Like I would always make myself the host of something or like a group.
Yes.
I do not feel the need to do it. And I really like it.
I like it for you too. And honestly, I've been doing the same thing. And isn't it interesting when you stop doing that to sit back and realize how many people rely on you for conversation and for entertainment? And then how
Oh
much
my
more
God.
fucking quiet it gets, and then how much other people are forced to hold a fucking conversation because you're not the one carrying it on your back.
I will say though, I thought I was a little bit more aware than I am because I just like will debrief with people later and be like, wow, I totally missed that. Like I do like I recognize that. And then simultaneously, because I'm less involved, like I am so happy in my own world and so unaffected by other people. Like I went from an empath that was hypersensitive to knowing people's emotions because it was a safety measure for me to predict what they were so I could provide that whatever. I went from like that sort of dynamic to being so unaffected by whatever energy you're bringing that now like I'm almost ignorant to what it is. Does that make sense? Because
Yeah,
I'm
because
in my own little happy fucking soul anchored bubble.
I mean, it makes sense. We literally spent the best weekend in San Diego for your birthday, and like, oh Jesus, my phone just hit my water glass on the floor and nothing happened.
Oh, gorgeous.
We
Don't you
love
love
to
when
hear
that
it.
happened?
We spent the best weekend in San Diego for your birthday, and so many moments happened. And I called Meadow to like recap after, and she's like, "What?" I'm like, "You were sitting right there."
Couldn't tell you. So happy, so present. Couldn't tell you couldn't tell you one thing. I had the best time. I know how I felt. I don't remember.
That's that's what's important,
I'm too
though. How you
present. I have no
feel.
more memory.
People always remember how you make them feel.
It's so true. What did the new
Yeah.
moon bring up for you? What were you? You know what? Do you want to do a quick in and out? Like, what did you release and what are you calling in?
Sure. Released, trying to release fear. I have a lot of fear around money. I have a lot of fear around career. So I'm just trying, and it's all tied into money. So because I have this thing in my head that like, I'm not successful in what I'm doing until I'm at a certain place financially. So I feel like
which is
nothing
a very
what I'm
fair goal to
doing,
set for yourself.
right? But it makes me feel like nothing that I'm doing is of any value. Like my value is too attached to, it's too attached to a societal standard of success where it's like, I feel like I haven't proved to my family or like even friends that I have that are like in normal industries that I'm actually successful and that I'm not just like, this isn't just like my hobby. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't just like write little articles.
Totally. I feel like you're so hyper fixated on that end goal that you're not like in the journey in the same way because you're like, well, I can't enjoy this because until I get this, that doesn't unlock like my privilege to be happy about what I've done here.
It's not even that though. It's not that though. It's like, yes, I think that was more in the past, but I think I'm enjoying the process a lot more. It's more so the validation of what I'm doing is legitimate.
From family.
Yeah, family, and
life,
I think friends. I think like just people that like I've grown up around, or and again,
like
this
a
has nothing to do.
Acceptance.
Yes, it has nothing to do with the.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
It's like a made up like the way social like societal. I understand that. Like
because by the way, like yes,
of it.
I feel it from my family. I don't feel it from any of my friends because when I say people I grew up with, like I don't feel it from anyone that I grew up with. I'm putting it on myself, but I do feel it from family. I'm just trying to kind of let go of that.
So much of it when it is like societal norm stuff, like that kind of bigger picture stuff, at the end of the day, you realize like that's just us. That's just our stuff. Like we get to decide what societal culture stuff is anyway, and we get to decide if we break that or follow that. And if that means we're morally good or bad, like that's our own shit too, you know? So that's like the bad side and the empowering side.
Right.
When you're like, well, it's my fault I think this way, but I get to change it.
Right.
You've been doing a good job at that though. Like you've been very intentionally like journaling about it and like thinking through what those beliefs are. Because we've talked a bit about that.
I've been talking through it more than I've been journaling lately, to be honest.
Do you like that better recently in terms of like cathartic release?
Yeah, I think it just depends on like you and I have gotten good at knowing what we need as like our coping. And so I'm just like in a mood where journaling like isn't really doing it for me unless it's like something like last night.
Yeah, coping comes and goes.
So it's just right now been a lot of more like up in here.
Yeah.
Type of stuff or like verbally releasing and working it through that way. What did you release?
I was like, I got to check my journal. I don't remember. Dude, this is how bad my memory is. I don't remember. I had my own version of that was like same, but different, like a different fear, but the same iteration tied to self-worth and money and career. And I think that's the last part that feels like something that fully ended now.
Okay.
Like I feel very embodied in embodying that lesson, closing that chapter of what that means, and stepping to the next one and being excited about what this looks like right now.
Mm.
And I think because I've been a little like about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're gonna like spill the tea on Patreon today about more specifically
I know.
like what my career shift is, which I didn't plan on or think I would speak to at all. But I just like I'm fully embracing this. It's a new 6-month cycle. Like it feels very energetically grounded, like cool. Like this is a new thing.
I'm excited because
And I'm committed to this new thing for a bit.
I think you should be talking about it and screaming it from the rooftops. I understand why you haven't, but I am very excited to see those reactions and like see what comes of it, because I think that this is definitely like when you guys hear it, like you're gonna be like, oh, duh. Because that's what I said to you. I was like, oh, obviously. Obviously this is what you're doing.
Obviously.
It makes so much sense. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I'm doing an audible with my seat choice right now. Sorry. Have you noticed every time?
You guys, we're moving a lot today. I keep moving the mic. Meadow's moving her mic.
I'm moving all around.
If you're watching this on YouTube,
you're getting a show.
We're probably causing you anxiety.
I know. I'm really sorry. This mic is broken. So like every time I pull it up, you just slowly watch it like fall over and over again. So I'm just going to sit on this like really low thing and just let it fall completely, because I think it'll be the best.
I mean, I think it's too close to your mouth anyway right now. So
it is for sure right now. Yeah.
Watch none of this be
usable. We make it work, designers.
Guys, we really just us and Kay, we're the squad. We get it done.
We really are. Oh, we might have a new squad member to intro soon. Tea to come.
Tea to come. Do you know what? I'm glad you stopped yourself there, because sometimes you go far and I'm like, Meadow, no. No one needs to know yet.
I see it all now as like moving performance art. So now I'm leaning more into the tease of it all, which works for you because now I'm not going to just like air out all our NDAs.
You said something the other day that I literally like, I love you for it.
Shit.
I love you because like you're such a cheerleader. But like you said something about someone with someone.
Who?
It was on your birthday weekend. The person was in the room. I had told it to you, and then you said it out loud. They didn't hear you, thank God, but you said it to the other people, and I was like, Meadow, they don't know that you know that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, slightly, I think so, but I don't want to say it
now.
No,
don't. That's why I haven't used pronouns or anything.
Yeah,
but I was like, Jesus, Meadow,
cool.
They don't know that you know that. Like,
I know who it's about, but I don't remember what the information was.
I'm gonna pause so I can tell you really fast because it's really funny. I'm unpausing so you can hear Meadow laugh about it.
It was basically me airing out something that I'm manifesting for someone else that they don't even know, that we haven't had a conversation. I am just calling this in for them. And I was like, it was fact. Yeah. Yeah. It's not my business.
To like a whole group of people. Yeah.
I'm learning.
Can you tell we haven't recorded it in a while? It feels like a while, but we recorded last week. But we haven't recorded a solo in a while.
That's what it is. We haven't recorded a solo in a while because we feel rusty.
As I sniff. I feel like I'm glitching.
I'm like getting caught.
Really
no
quick.
AC. Okay.
I'm sweating too. Really quick, because we have so much to move through, because you guys sent in really great questions. Let us know, by the way, if you, Meadow strips for the camera, if you prefer us answering Q&As on Instagram, like when we ask on Wednesdays and then we answer Thursdays, or if we like do these every month or whatever, or like a combination of both, because, we like to have our cake and eat it too. So let us know what you're into, because you guys are asking really good questions.
Such good questions. Well, and even if you're not asking questions, remember there's a spot on our website where you can submit themes. Like I've been getting a lot of DMs too, which is also fine if you want to just DM us for theme requests that end up being like our long format unpackings, even if we're not doing a Q&A. So just keep them coming, because we want to know what you want to talk about too. Like this is supposed to feel like we're saying, it feels like just us sometimes. When we have these, it does feel like we're more engaged and interacting with you, which is the best part.
Guys, these are our favorite episodes to record. Before we get into it, quick disclaimer / like leads us into it. I was talking to Meadow about this before, and I was like, we need to talk about this on the podcast. So I have a friend who, she's definitely not listening, but like, hi, if you're listening, she is in med school right now. Yeah. And she sent like a message to like our high school group chat that we still have. and was like, she had just finished her psych rotation.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, it pisses me off so much how many people and how many patients I spoke to that came in with some sort of quote unquote diagnosis that they had self-diagnosed because of TikTok. And they were like, TikTok said, TikTok this, TikTok. And she was like, it's so infuriating. And admittedly, when she first said it, I got weirdly triggered. And I was like, oh my God, is she like subtweeting me because I have a mental health podcast? And then I was like, no, because we don't diagnose anyone. We whatever. I'm not going to defend us on here. If you listen, you know. But I thought it was important to bring up, especially before we do like a Q&A. Don't listen to non-experts about a diagnosis. Mm-hmm. Don't try and WebMD your way to a diagnosis. Mm-hmm. It's not healthy. It's not correct. You're probably going to go down a really dangerous spiral. You might manifest weird, what are those called? Like placebo effect symptoms. Who the fuck knows? And by the way, things are not one size fits all. So somebody can be on TikTok being like, I have clinical depression and this is how it looks. Someone else could have clinical depression. It looks a different way. So 100%. Don't just don't.
Just don't. Haven't we talked about like the ADHD industry making big on TikTok and Tourette's syndrome? Oh my God. Everyone thinks that they have ADHD now. Babe, no, just because you lived through a pandemic, you now work from home, your brain operates in a different way and you're not doing memory quizzes, doesn't mean that you fucking have ADHD and now need to get on Ritalin or like detox from your Adderall. Like, this is not what it is. Like there's so much more nuance. There's so much more individuality. That's like the whole point of everything we're saying. You wrapped it up beautifully. But I think ADHD and Tourette's is the two places that like, I think anyone's For You page just see. Even Aaron, he doesn't even have TikTok. He just watches them on Instagram. He's like, do I have ADHD? And I was like, oh, honey.
The amount of friends that have said that to me lately, I think I have ADHD. Oh, I think I have ADHD. And all these adults being diagnosed with ADHD. I'm like, you don't. Guys, we're just, like you said, lived through a pandemic and I'm really fucking distracted in my apartment.
Exactly. You don't have ADHD. Just because you like can't put something away in your drawer and you space out. Like that doesn't be like, this is different than clinical diagnoses, whatever. Well, go ahead. Play devil's advocate.
Do you know who, no, this isn't devil's advocate, but I'm saying like for people who actually have diagnosed ADHD, do you know whose YouTube video I watched that I was like, wow, I don't have ADHD, but that sounds like a really interesting way to describe how she feels. Colleen Ballinger.
Oh,
do you know who that is?
Is so cool and open about trichomania. Is it called trichomania and ADHD? I love when she shares about her personal and skin picking.
I think it's trichotillomania.
Something like that.
Something like that.
When she describes her personal experiences, she is so beautiful at like describing where she's coming from, where her doctors are coming from, where she's working from, how it doesn't mean something for you, but this is her experience. Like I love when Colleen talks about mental health. It's so cool.
So I was watching one of her vlogs and it was a recent vlog and she was talking about like what her brain feels like. And the way that she described it was she was like, pretend like you just made a bunch of spaghetti that's like stuck together and you threw the spaghetti into like a bowl in the sink. And she's like, basically every task that I have to do is like it's an individual strand of spaghetti. But like every time I pick up that strand and I start doing it, it's attached to another strand that I'm like, oh, I have to do this now. So I stop doing what that strand is. And it's like, you're constantly unraveling this like knot of spaghetti. It was a really interesting way to like think about it because I had never thought about it that way because I don't suffer from ADHD. So if you do and you're diagnosed and you actually are diagnosed, that's an interesting way to look at it. But I'm not saying either, by the way, that if you're not diagnosed and you see something on TikTok and it relates with you that like it couldn't be what's going on. It's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like, let's not jump to conclusions.
I think social media has become a cool place for people to get information, right? Like that's just
super
point
cool.
Blank interesting and new and the accessibility and what is it they say? Like kindergartners today know more than the president did 25 years ago or whatever it was. Like it's so cool to have that access to information. All we're saying is like be critical consumers of information.
Thoughtful.
Look at where the source is coming from. Look at yourself. Understand that you're getting a 30-second bite of a diagnosis of something. Like just, critical analysis things. Also, Google Scholar is incredible. Also, if someone's saying they're like a board certified, whatever, like, APA, whatever. If someone says they have a degree, like, you can Google fact check that, right? So just throwing that out there too.
We love fact checking.
Sometimes I get DMs not to talk shit. But sometimes I get DMs where I'm like, babe, I'm not Google. like, do people just not realize they just can Google it?
Mhm.
Aaron and I had a coworker back in the day who's definitely not listening, but Billy, if you're here, hello, that we would always crack up at because anytime we would like ask something or be in conversation, something could come up, just not even, you just hear his fingers. Like he's immediately Googling it. Like it's just
That's
so
how Zoe is. That's what I was about to say.
yes.
He
We have
Googles
such
everything.
a gift of having that access. Like fucking utilize. It's so much fun.
It's
Utilize
so much
it,
fun.
learn.
It also gives you such a one up in like conversations. Like that's what I was literally about to say, that like my boyfriend
Totally
does that, where like he will Google, he hears something and he's like, no, I don't know. He'll immediately, like, you know how I'll be like, oh, I got to Google that. And then I don't do it.
Yeah.
Like he'll immediately do it. But the recent one that we were talking about was we were just having a really long conversation about Candace Owens. And
Oh,
he was saying how like the documentary that she had about like George Floyd's murder, like actually not being a murder and the dangerous psychotic bullshit that she spews. We were talking about that, and he was saying, he was like having a conversation about it with somebody who was like, yeah, but you know, the expert and no. So he's like, let's check who the expert is. So he Googles the expert from the documentary, had to click a couple fucking Wikipedia links. Okay. This man isn't a fucking data analyst to figure out that the expert, he's an ex-law enforcement officer who is tapped in all of these, like where the cop fucks up type of case, where like the cop fucks up, they shoot someone, they do something they're not supposed to do. He's always the one that they like tap for the lawsuit and for the case as like, that's who's cited as the expert. And so like, obviously it's like who fucking Candace Owens is going to be citing. And I'm like, one Google and you figure out that it's full of shit if you didn't already know that she was full of shit.
It's literally when people are like, oh, it's in an independently peer-reviewed journal, and you look up the journal and like the research was actually funded by Coca-Cola or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
or
who's
it's like the
funding
sample
research?
size is 5 people.
That's what I mean. Like you got to check a couple things. Your boyfriend's so good at that. You had another example about that, about politics. Do you remember? Like the billboard of the guy in the South.
Oh, that's a good one. Should I tell that story?
Yeah, real quick, because it's good. And it's the same thing.
Okay, before I get into it, that's the fucking catch-22 of social media. Yes, it's amazing that we have so much access and so much knowledge and like access to people, the way that other people live and all these things. But then also our attention spans are getting so much smaller and we're just absorbing these sound bites and we're forgetting how to analyze and critically think and have deductive reasoning skills and think for ourselves. And that is really dangerous and contributes to a lot of groupthink, which isn't fabulous.
Also contributes to cancel culture, which we're actively trying to dismantle because that's not healthy and normal and like conducive to a society growing in any form.
We're going to talk about this in our Patreon episode, so tune in. But like as a little teaser, I literally said this to Zoe yesterday. I hate cancel culture so much. So it makes me so happy when large corporations act because money speaks and it's the only thing that people listen to. So like all of these fucking corporations that are, and banks and Adidas and all these people that are dropping Kanye like fucking flies. I'm like, thank God that's happening, because people with such a fucking big God complex that are so dangerous, they don't care if they get canceled because it's just, we're just sheep. We're just sheep. What matters are these corporations, these billion-dollar fucking companies that are telling them to go fuck themselves and they're losing money. That's when they shake a little bit.
Because it actually affects them.
So tune into our Patreon episode that we're going to record right after this one. It should already be live by the time this goes up. So go listen to further that conversation if you're curious.
Tell the Zoe story on Patreon there. We'll leave them with that so we can do a Q&A.
Go listen to the story of how to actually use your brain. Yeah. Okay, you guys asked some great questions that I have pulled up here on my phone. Should I just start ripping them for you?
Yeah, please.
We'll start from the top. How do you know if you'd actually be happier single versus being afraid of marriage, even with the perfect girlfriend? So let's just say perfect partner. How do you know if you'd actually be happier single versus being afraid of... Okay, I think what they're trying to say is like they're scared of marriage. So they think that they're going to be happier single, but it's just their fear talking. That's what I'm taking away from the question. Is that what they're asking?
I don't know. My gut reaction was harsh, which was...
Go ahead.
If you really love... Like, I'd never really thought I wanted to get married, but it's important to Aaron. And because he's the perfect person, it means, like, I now want to. Like, it now... If it's exciting for you, it's exciting for... Like, there's just a different level of... There's a hard part about like marriage and long-term relationships, and that is like love is not enough and you have to respect the other person. You choose each other every day. You show up, you're making a commitment. The easy part is choosing him. That's the easiest part. So if that's not an easy part, go be single and figure it out.
I agree. I
I don't
think
know if
it's
that's
such
what
a
they're
cop out
asking,
to
but that
not
was
do things
my,
because you're
that's how I
scared.
heard it.
I feel like it kind of is.
Okay.
I think it is. If they're saying like, it says, how do you know if you'd be happy or single versus being afraid of marriage, even if you have the perfect partner? Yeah, I think you're answering it
Do
correctly.
some
I think
deep work. Yeah.
fear is such a cop out.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's two pronged, even though there's nuance in between. It's either you need to grow up and get over it because you're really not going to do something that you genuinely want to do because you're fucking scared.
Like, is it a self-sabotage fear or is it a fear of not the right person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like grow up and like do the work and figure it out. Or second prong is like, it's just an excuse. It's not the right person.
Exactly.
And you know it.
Yeah.
So,
I
like-
feel like it's either of those prongs too. That's also my gut reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, if it is prong number one, maybe you shouldn't jump into it, even if it is the right person, because clearly
You have some
you're
fears.
you have some fears that you need to work through, and you're not going to be the ideal partner because you're not the best version right now. Which again, you don't have to be the best version of yourself all the
Exactly.
time in a relationship, but
There's
do the
some
work.
things to work through before a long-term commitment, but also like don't let that feel debilitating because the empowering part of that is that fear is exactly where you start. Like please refer back
Mhm.
to our episode of using triggers as a roadmap. Like that place is the first step in your healing. You have a path, you know what you need. Like you have something to go towards, which is very empowering in a healing process because it's not always the case. So at least you know what you can go towards and start exploring with someone.
Exactly. Great question. I think it's something a lot of people feel.
Yeah.
Okay. Love this because we just talked about it on Isaac's episode.
Oh.
We hadn't even had Isaac on yet when this person asked the question. So I love that this happened.
Fun.
Any advice on how to get out of awareness hell?
Oh, self-awareness hell. Should we describe what self-awareness hell is?
Please go ahead.
Self-awareness hell is doing the work, being aware of your patterns, being aware of triggers, yet still watching the same patterns occur to you again and again because you're not taking aligned action with what you know, like your highest purpose or self to be. So you're trapped knowing that like you're in this place where you're working on healing. You're maybe not taking actions that you want to take, but you're also frustrated with the patterns that are still occurring in front of you. So how do you get out of that rut?
Mhm.
That's how I take it. Do you have any?
That's how I take it too.
Okay.
I think what you said before of using your triggers as a roadmap is
Mhm.
a great place to start.
I totally agree.
Pick one.
Pick one. Use your triggers.
Pick one,
Notice one
pick
comes up
one
today,
and go
write it
from
down,
there.
go from there. I think to speak more to like aligned action, even like making a physical list of what patterns are occurring to you is really helpful because then you can start like noticing day to day where they line up. I also very strongly believe in building a mindfulness muscle outside of work, outside of self-care. Like work on to have a practice in a space where you're constantly working on mindfulness because one, the research is unprecedented when it comes to meditation for your physical and mental health. Nothing is more research backed than it. Everyone needs it should be a baseline requirement at this point. That's how strongly I feel about it. But two, developing a practice space where you're learning that your thoughts and emotions aren't real, but they're experiences and like how to distance yourself from them in practice means that when the triggers start coming up in real time and when it comes to making those aligned actions and decisions in real time, you will be better equipped to flex that muscle that you're building in an outside scenario. Like you're prepping yourself for these moments to step into that worth by creating space in between you and these big feelings that can make you act irrationally or okay, I was describing this to someone the other day about how if you've been stuck in a pattern for so long, the way neuroplasticity works is you picture it like a sled going down snow. Like you have your defined path that's so clear and so carved out. Like you're always going this way. It's very hard to start a new path. So when you're building that muscle outside, then choosing that new path gets a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper till you can naturally start going towards this aligned action. Is that helpful?
Yeah, that is helpful. I have nothing to add because I'm not a genius.
Okay, move on.
Heard it here first. Okay, cute.
Okay, cute.
Sometimes things come out of my mouth that I'm like, I just sound like such an asshole.
You've lived in LA for a year for sure.
Bruh, let me just tell you.
My friend Sarah sent me a DM yesterday that said, I don't care how in love with you I am, I'm still going to call you bro. It's like, I was raised in San Diego.
Like I will call if I love you. I mean, I'm from Miami.
Yeah.
Bro is like literally our Okay. Reel it in, Gabby. Focus.
And meta.
I just see my brain just escaping. Okay. Advice for finding friends in a new city. We've
Take it
talked
away.
a lot about this.
Yeah, we have.
Okay. Here are my main points. One, interesting thought that I want to have an episode about. So let us know if you're interested in this, but I think it brings it in. It's the idea of working through like your karma.
Oh,
We were just talking about
I
this.
love this so
So I
much.
think that like when you're moving to a new city, obviously there's a lot of change going around. That can be really scary. It can be really intimidating. It can be really paralyzing. I think that if you're doing that in conjunction with working on yourself in a way that just feels really aligned, it doesn't have to be anything major, just like getting really clear with your gut, like being able to hear your gut and having a really good gut check is a great place to start. That way, when you start meeting new people, you'll be able to weed out ones who haven't really done their karmic work, aren't really the ones that are on your vibration, and really sort of like sort through and filter the ones that are.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll start with that. I think social media is a great tool.
Mm-hmm.
I know that like we don't all work in social media, but I do think that like it's the age of that. So like sliding into people's DMs, giving them a follow,
Mhm.
whatever,
Mhm.
it's not weird.
Talking
Asking
over the
your
stories
friends,
is
like,
my
hey,
favorite thing to do.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it's not weird. And if that feels uncomfortable for you, because oh, hold on, let me caveat that because there have definitely been moments where like I talked about this with friends who have like gotten DMs and I've gotten DMs like this too that are like, oh my God, like we should totally be friends. Like you live in my city, like let's be friends. And I'm like,
Different.
no.
No. Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes it just feels like a little invasive to do it
Yeah.
like that. So if it's more of like we're bonding over
Shared interests.
liking something
Yeah.
or having shared interests, I think that's interesting, which brings up my second point or I guess third point, go do things. Liv Perez talked about this. Go do things that you enjoy, whether it's like a pottery class or an acting class. Do things that you're interested in because you will meet other people who are also interested in those same things.
And they can be, it doesn't even have to be as scary as starting something new, like an acting class. Like when you were saying the Instagram situation, an example that came to mind was if you like natural wine, you watch Maddie Bragg's videos, you like natural wine, you find a new natural wine shop nearby, start following the account, like start following the owner of the shop, like DM them when they have new things and ask questions, like find a genuine shared interest to like, oh my gosh, the way we talk about how Erin has friends in Japan over the same like North Face collection stuff, like
Yeah.
just have a shared interest and discuss it like kind of like a club. Like we're all in our own online club.
Go listen to our last Q&A because we talked about this a lot more extensively and Liv Perez's episode.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to talk too much about it because we've talked about it so much.
Sorry, my lighting's all weird.
So is mine.
Whatevs. We've given up the production value of this.
Also, new art.
Oh yeah, new art.
Yeah, new
For her,
art.
not me.
They were really ugly and I just committed, but I hated them the whole time. So now we've got new art.
We're
You
happy
can't
with
really
it.
see it from this angle, but
New Yorker, baby.
it's a New Yorker from, I don't know, I think it's from like the 70s. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it said that. Yeah.
Oh, I love this question and I'm going to make you answer it because it's all about you. How to get into tarot reading?
Good question.
I was so good at reading tarot.
I had this idea in my head that I don't think is necessarily true, but for some reason, I had this idea in my head that my sister gave me years ago that you couldn't buy your first tarot deck. It had to be gifted to you. And I wanted to get into it so badly. And I was watching videos about ASMR tarot and stuff all the time. Straight up called my sister and was like, can you buy me tarot decks for my birthday? This was last year or the year before. And I just asked for it. And so she did. And I have been taught by someone. I think it's nice to just have one deck that you read for yourself. But if you're interested in like reading for other people, I think I've been taught that it's nice to have a deck that you use just for yourself and one you use to read others and like have that be separate. And then I think just like small things to practice. So like watch videos on YouTube. I really like Idia ASMR. I really like Vanessa Samaya's tarot decks that I post about all the time. I just find their videos very comforting and usually very accurate. And I like learning through them. And then I also am like, every time I read, I'm just reading the book about what the cards mean because I don't know yet. I was told to start by just pulling one a day for the day and write it down and keep track of the themes and just start trying to like piece it together slowly for yourself. I think that's a very, very nice baby step. And then if people are interested, when like new moons and solar eclipses and shit comes up, I'll start posting like little things you can do. Michaela last night told me an example of something she does recently is like one card for the moment, something you need to hear right now, something you need to hear for this week, and something for the season, like the next 30-day moon cycle. And she did something really cool where I've never specified it. Usually mine is very much just kind of generally asking for like themes of what's going on right now and what do I need to know. Michaela was so cool because she took it very specific and asked for boundaries. Like, I'm trying to implement boundary settings. Like, what do I need to know in regards to boundaries right now, this week and this month? What should I be paying attention to? What should I focus on? It had never occurred to me as a beginner that I could get more specific with it. So I think that's like a fun place that I'm going to start exploring next. But for now, just like get yourself a desk, ask your best friend to buy you a deck. I got Gabby some for her birthday too, and just start playing with them. Do one a day and keep a journal of it. I think the journal is important to just keep track. And simultaneously, it might be very helpful for you to track your patterns if that's something you're trying to get into as well. Having tarot and journaling at the same journal is so helpful for pattern tracking for me. I've just found that it provides more insight. So it might be fun.
I always love finding new tarot people. So if any of you guys, I like Esso Tarot. She's nice on YouTube. If anyone has people that they love watching
Send
or like
us.
following, let us know. Send us because I always want to hear. Okay. This is tender.
Okay.
First kiss tips.
Oh my God. That's so cute.
Okay, I have two answers because one, what if it's your first kiss, period, and then first kiss with someone new?
Right. Take it away and do both.
Okay. First kiss, period. Oh, it's so special.
I know.
But like also not really. Like I feel like we make everything special in our brains and it's just not. Like the first time of anything usually isn't going to be great.
No.
I'm going to be honest. I think consent, make sure you're comfortable, make sure they're comfortable. Yeah. Don't just, it's like riding a bike.
Yeah.
You kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't go in too aggressively, hold back those teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't shove your tongue in their mouth.
Please start gently.
Please start
don't
gently.
Enter
like
with
that's
force.
What I was trying to say.
Please
like,
start gently.
Don't enter with force. Tender,
Don't enter with the tongue.
Don't
introduce it later if you build to it.
Yeah.
You don't just come.
Introduce
don't
the
come
biting.
in firing.
Introduce the tongue. Introduce the sucking. All of that. Introduce
slowly.
It later.
Yeah.
Slow. Your lips will know what to do. Hopefully, so will theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Chew a piece of gum before.
Brush your teeth.
I don't know. Just
scrape your fucking tongue.
Bro, scrape your fucking tongue. If you don't have a tongue scraper,
what are you doing?
I'm sorry. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
And I'm going to out myself. Like I didn't have one until like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. The way that I feel,
you can never
vile,
go back. Yeah, Mm-hmm.
No. Like I feel as if like I hadn't bathed.
Yes.
In my 26 years of life.
Absolutely.
Until I had a tongue scraper. Like,
absolutely.
It's like you have been showering your whole life without soap.
You're a man that just discovered that washing your ass is a thing when you learn to scrape your tongue. Like, not to make it gender specific, but we've just seen it on TikTok, so it's a funny trope.
Just fucking get a tongue scraper.
Yeah. I'm not going to explain it
just
further. No white tongues.
Okay. Anyway,
when kissing anyone. Okay. Move on.
I can smell you from here. Like, absolutely not. No.
Okay.
No. Okay. First kiss with a new person. Same thing in terms of like going gentle, vibe check, read the room. Mm-hmm. So many people, here's the thing. I assume that people know how to read the room when apparently it's a fucking art because so many people cannot.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you're a TMB listener,
you know how to read a room.
You're a self-aware kind of person. Mm-hmm. So you know how to read a room.
Yeah.
You know how to read a room. Again, I think it just depends on the situation. If it's like after a first date, like a nice little smooch is cute. Couldn't tell you the last time that I had a first kiss that like wasn't turning into like a full-fledged makeout.
Yeah.
At my age.
Yeah.
At my ripe age.
Yeah.
But yeah, just never lead with tongue. It frustrates me deeply. Just don't lead with tongue. Figure it out. Figure out the way the other person kisses first because some people don't like, but use your tongue eventually. If you don't use your tongue and you're just making out. Right?
Yeah, I was like off in my own world for a second thinking about, because I was like, oh, the last time I had a first kiss was obviously Aaron. And I was like, oh yeah, we admitted our love for each other. And then he like didn't kiss me for a week. He like, it's like our whole courtship is so backwards because we're soulmates. It makes no sense. But we basically like admitted our love for each other. Then he didn't even kiss me for a week till I was literally like, you need to kiss me now. But it was also then fucking incredible, so. Worked well.
Yeah.
I hadn't been used to, I had never been courted by a Southern man. They move slowly and they build tension. And I like it. Worship kink. Have you seen that TikTok?
I have this meme. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, I sure have.
Yeah.
I sure have. Let's keep going. Let's keep it moving. I also feel like I'm being really, Someone tell me if I'm being mean today.
Oh my God, not at all. Mean?
Okay. All right. We're going to keep it moving. Tips on stopping the negative narrative if some days are less productive than others. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Rest
Is productive.
is productive.
Say it again.
Rest is productive because laziness exists. I don't want to fall into the trap because I just, this is where I get really pissed that like people will be like, you're Gen Z, because I'm not. I am a cusper. I am the last year
You're the
millennial.
only millennial that like makes sure people knows is a millennial.
Like I get so viscerally upset when people are like, you're Gen Z. And I'm like, I could break your head in half. I agree that like a lot of people just don't want to work these days.
Right. I don't either.
I don't want to work in a lot of stuff. I just want to like create and storytell and like live in a mansion.
Yeah, same.
Is that too fucking hard to ask for? Here's the thing. That said, like I'm not going to go into the whole like laziness doesn't exist because it fucking does. Okay? It does. Know the difference. This is all going back to being self-aware. Know the difference. Rest is so productive because you're recharging your brain. You're charging all those little neural pathways. You're creating new ones. You're giving yourself the space to like actually create and do what you need to do. So recharging is so productive. Think about it. It's like sleep. If you're not sleeping, you're not getting anything done. Your brain isn't functioning the way that it needs to be functioning. If you want to focus on your job, how are you supposed to focus on your job if you can't focus?
Beautiful.
What were you going to say?
This is the stress curve. Picture a normal bell curve, baby. This is the stress curve. The stress curve says that if you have not enough stress in your life, your productivity is at an all-time low. Why? Remember those summers when we didn't, you weren't in school, you're in your pajamas all day watching cartoons, whatever. Like you lean into the laziness because there's nothing making you have to work for it, right? The other side is if we have so much stress that it's too much to handle, we curl into a ball and watch Netflix all day, right? You're on the low. Too little stress or too much stress, you're not very productive. If you have just enough stuff to kick your ass to get you into gear, but not so much that you need to like do coping mechanisms to regulate, you can stay in the zone of optimal levels of stress. Because not all stress is bad. Stress can be used to motivate us. So this is how we stay in this optimum level. If you're in this way, make some goals, set some systems into place to kick your ass. If you're too much stress, make sure you do some coping and set some time for rest, which will be productive in order for you to come back to the optimal level of stress. Rant over. Thank you.
That was so much better. I feel like I just say things on here.
Here we go again. You're getting in your head too much.
And then Meadow actually like provides meaning to everything.
It's not meaning. It's only I have a formal way to say things. You have actual relatability.
Okay. All right, last one. Major sources of aesthetic the glitch
inspiration. I know exactly what it is. Aesthetic inspiration. Where do I begin? In what capacity? Home, art,
I don't know. That's
music.
What it says aesthetic inspo.
Okay. OG Tumblr. I'm new on Pinterest. I wiped all my old 2014 boards and I'm going for that. Oh man, magazines.
I just bought our new AD.
I love aesthetic inspo. I love classical artists. I love looking at design versus fine art. I love sculpture. I love videography. Oh my God, those Nowness videos, Nowness in Residence series on YouTube. So inspirational and aesthetic. Closet-wise, Gabby. Music videos. Oh, I love music. The music videos are so poignant and like imbue such feeling. What else?
People watching.
Ooh, yes.
People watching is a big thing for me.
Such a good one. Yes.
Because we're all just looking down and we're all just, okay. So I had this conversation like a year ago with one of my editor friends. She's a beauty editor. She is the only editor that I know that doesn't have Instagram.
Wow.
And her thing is like, I was like, but isn't it like, because I always had this narrative in my head of like, if your finger isn't on the pulse, you don't know what's going on. And she was like, yeah, but like, what is the pulse if it's just what everyone else is doing and it's the things that you're seeing? She's like, I find trends first because I looking on the
around. Yeah.
Like I'm looking. I'm literally looking and seeing, oh, like this person's eyebrows are doing this thing right now. Or like, no, they're in LA.
Yeah. You do have hometown advantage of like a cultural center with that versus like Alabama.
For sure. Yeah, she's in LA, but But yes, it's like she just looks around, and I really think about
I
that
love
all the
that.
time, where like when I'm feeling really in like a pitching rut of like what I want to talk about and like pitch to different magazines, I think about what she told me, and I'm like, what am I literally seeing? What are my friends
Totally.
actively talking about? Like, what's happening in this actual space, not in here?
Also, like a different version of that for me is like inner child stuff. Like I grew up watching Anthony Bourdain with my family, so like he's a big source of inspiration. Or like old school Project Runway. I'll never forget when they had to make the dresses out of the seat belts, and then like all those. Remember, we used to have seatbelt dress in the 2010. Like going back to things that you were interested in or have experience with or feel intimate or personal to you, and taking the parts of that inspire you to make something else is like the coolest fucking thing in the world to me. A random example that I can think of is we were just watching Aaron's like favorite movie, childhood movie of all time is the Rush Hour movies. And I hadn't seen any of them. They're Jackie Chan and what's his name? And we were watching another one last night, and Don Cheadle's in it. And he comes out and he's like, "What are you doing, Kenny?" And I looked at him and I was like, "Oh, Kung Fu Kenny." Like this is where Kendrick got that from. He must have he's your age. He grew up with this movie just like you. Like it's so cool when you can see artists have the same cultural references as you because you're the same age and grew up in similar scenarios and found relatability with the same movie. Like I love that shit. It's so cool. So like look at your own life.
That you use that. It's so funny that you use that because like I think about that all the time when I'm listening to songs, especially like songs in Spanish that I might obviously like I grew up in the United States, so like I have a very different lived experience from people that like grew up in other countries. But like the cultural references and stuff, like I think about that shit all of the time. And I was literally on my way home from Pilates today, and I was listening to this like Jay Cortez song, whatever. And he was like saying all this stuff in the song. And I was like, wow. And it was all like old school reggaeton references that like I just happened to get because it was like stuff that I listened to. But there's obviously references that like I know they're making a reference, but I don't know what it is. I wonder like how cool it must be for all of these artists that are all these like reggaeton artists that like all have kind of like the same memory bank for them, like how excited they get when they hear that reference like in
I
the
know
song,
that
and
character
like,
from
oh
that.
my God.
It hits.
Yes.
That's when art becomes so much more beautiful, when you make those personal connections, because that's the part that is like you're saying, that's what connects to your heart. You know what I mean? Like that's what pulls on those strings. Oh, it's so fucking cool. You know, it'd be a fun exercise for you. You should go through like that song and like go to the Genius and look up all the references you don't know. You might find like something new and cool for yourself. You know what I mean?
I'm a big lyrico.
Yeah, me too.
Oh my God, I have to tell you the funniest. I'll tell it on Patreon.
Okay, let's go to
I'm
Patreon.
tell
Move to our
story
safe
on
space.
Patreon.
Move
Let's
to our
go to
safe space.
Patreon.
Bye.
All right, thank you guys for listening.
Rate and review. Send it to a friend. Thank you for listening. See you next week.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you guys so much for listening to the Thoughts May Vary podcast every Monday.